What's up, guys? Today we'll be talking about the top 5 best older flagship phones that you can get for the $200 price point. So I'm going to be giving you guys an update on my thoughts and opinions on these devices. I want to go ahead and thank our partner Mint Mobile, and let's go ahead and get started with the OnePlus 7 Pro. Alright, so the OnePlus 7 Pro, we made a video about this like last week for $175. So if you didn't catch that video, just a quick wrap up. This is still just a great device if you really just want to sum it up, and it's a very unique device still in 2022 because of the no notch, no punch hole screen on here. It's a fluid AMOLED 90 hertz display, HDR10 plus. It's at 6.67 inches. It's a 1440p display, and it's 516 for the PPI. And I've been using this phone just as a daily driver, and I was using this phone as my daily driver for a very long time as well too. And it's just still a great experience with the screen on here. It just feels like you're holding a screen in your hand. It's a very bright, vibrant. It uses the pop-up selfie cam mechanism as well too, and whatever you're doing on this phone, it's just going to be a very immersive experience. You do have a glass back on here, and I really like the design on here. It's very comfortable to hold in the hand, especially for a bigger phone. Now the 7 Pro, it is rocking the Snapdragon 855, and this phone did surprisingly well with playing video games. I was able to play PUBG at 90 frames, which was pretty impressive, and overall general performance is just pretty good on this phone. Like I said, it doesn't really heat up or anything like that. It stays relatively cool as well. So I think performance is great. You have 128 gigs of internal storage, 6 gigs of RAM. Most versions online are going to be the 256 and 8 gig version as well too. And also, guys, remember, you can get the 7T Pro for just a little bit more money. It might not be exactly 200 bucks, but also consider that phone is pretty good. You also have stereo speakers, which sound really well. NFC is on here. The under the display fingerprint sensor is actually extremely fast, and then the cameras on the 7 Pro are pretty good. It's just that they're not going to be the best on this list that, I would recommend as being overall best. They're pretty good, and honestly the photo speaks for themselves. 48 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto lens with 3x, 16 megapixel ultra wide, and it has 4K 60 video with the pop-up selfie that does 16 megapixels at 1080/30. Basically it takes great photos. It's just not going to be the best on this list. Sometimes I have to edit the photo, sometimes I don't like the way the color comes out. And yeah, but in general, in good lighting, it's going to take a pretty good photo. Now this phone does have a pretty good battery life. I've never had this phone actually die on me in a day. So you do have a 4,000 milliamp battery, 30-watt charging. The only complaint with the battery is that there's no wireless charging or anything like that, but it charges fairly fast, and like I said, you can get around 6 hours of screen on time out of here. All right, guys, next, guys, so I want to talk about today's partner, and that is Mint Mobile. I'm really excited to bring this to you guys. So if you guys are interested in cutting some costs and saving some money, definitely check this out. With inflation and just how expensive everything is these days, with phones being $1,000 plus, this is a great service for you guys. So Mint Mobile offers premium wireless coverage for as little as $15 a month. You don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data, and it keeps the cost low. They sell direct to you online, so that's how they're able to keep that, that cost pretty low. I was spending about 50 bucks on my service, so I've been able to save money with this guy as well when I switch, and that has been really good. So the speed has been really great as well too. I want to show you guys the speed test I did, that so you can see I went ahead and ran this test, and you can see we got perfect signal, 35.65, and then 9.57 for the upload as well too. So you can go ahead and activate it. It's very easy. You can do the eSIM and do it that way straight from your phone, or you can go ahead and do the traditional SIM, which I did on my OnePlus 7 Pro here. I just popped it in, activated it. It was super fast, very easy. You just have to download the Mint app, and everything goes really, really smoothly here. They also have a family plan as well too. They'll let you set up a super affordable plan with just as little as 2 lines. Check out the link down below if you want to get started with the $15 a month plan. It will be down below. Mint Mobile, Matthews Tech. Check that out, guys. This is the LG V60. This phone, it comes in at around 250 to 200 bucks, and like I said, I'll have the links down below. Basically, this is the best phone for the price to spec ratio, in my opinion, because you're just getting a lot for literally 200 bucks, right? So aluminum frame, glass back on here. I think the design still holds up in 2022. It's IP68. It just has a very Very nice feel to the hand. It's really built like a tank. Very well built phone. You also have a 6.8-inch POLED display. It's HDR10 Plus at 1080p 395. So the screen is fairly sharp, and you're gonna get some good colors on this phone as well too. But not only that, this phone for extra $100, you can find the dual screen case on eBay. You can turn this phone into basically two phones, so you can have two screens to do true multitasking on. And if you're a power user, you're gonna absolutely love that feature. Now, LG did push out the Android 12 update, but they also promised and said this phone would get Android 13. So we will be looking for the Android 13. I'm assuming it'll come out sometime in 2023, but we will be looking for that because they haven't said that they're gonna, not put it out. So if they put the Android 12 out, we should get Android 13. We do have the Snapdragon 865 chip on here. This phone is blazing fast. It doesn't matter what you're doing on this phone. Just bouncing in and out of applications. Gaming on this phone is phenomenal. I have several gaming tests. It blows through anything. PUBG, Call of Duty, Fortnite. It's able to play at high settings. You also have micro SD card support, 128 gigs of internal storage, and 8 gigs of RAM. So you're good on storage with this phone. One of the best things about this phone is you have a headphone jack with a quad DAC. So if you're somebody that really cares about high quality audio, you're going to absolutely love this phone. And put the cherry on top, the speakers are top notch on this phone too. Excellent sounding speakers, great bass quality on here, very good mids and highs. You're just going to love the audio in general on this phone. The fingerprint scanner is not the fastest, but it does work. You just have to apply a little bit of pressure since it is optical, but that does work. Unfortunately, there's no face unlock. The cameras on here are actually pretty good as well too. It's a 64 megapixel standard with a 13 megapixel ultra wide and a 0.3 depth sensor. It also shoots in 8K 30, and then you have a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 30. It's going to take some absolutely phenomenal photos. Very good natural color science on these shots, good dynamic range. The ultra wide is good. I think in general most people will see these photos as being very good. Also, you have a 5,000 milliamp battery with wireless charging. This phone does excellent in terms of screen on time, and just the screen off time or the standby time is just going to be great on here. So you get well over 6 hours of screen on time with this phone. In general, this is just a killer phone as far as the price to spec ratio goes. Alright guys, next is the Galaxy S10 Plus. This is a still very impressive phone. Some would say the best, phone that Samsung has released because of how complete it is as far as feature wise. So this phone, I still love the design on this phone. I still think it has aged really well. It's got an aluminum frame, glass back, it's IP68, dust and water resistant. Typically these are going for around like $200 as well too. And then it has a 6.4-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's HDR10 Plus at 1440p, 522 for the PPI. So it has a very high resolution. It has the double punch hole up top here as well too. So the screen quality is just phenomenal on here as well too. Great colors, extremely sharp. So I think as far as the screen goes, you really like that. And then this phone did get its last major OS update, Android 12 One UI 4.1. It's currently in its security patch stages as well too, so take that into consideration. You do have the Snapdragon 855. I did a gaming test on here. This phone does excellent with video games. PUBG played at really good settings, high settings. Fortnite played really well on this phone. Basically any game that I threw at it was playing pretty well. So this phone is extremely efficient in terms of gaming. You also have the micro SD card support on here, and you also have a headphone jack on here as well too. So that's why a lot of people really like this phone. You also have 128 gigs of internal storage and 8 gigs of RAM on here. So it's just very complete as far as feature wise. Samsung desktop support is on here, secure folders, reverse wireless charging. Really all the bells and whistles are still on here, and you have a very fast under the display fingerprint sensor, and you can take advantage of the face unlock. The cameras on the S10 Plus are still pretty good as well too. It's a 12 megapixel standard with a 12 megapixel telephoto. It shoots in 2x optical zoom with a 16 megapixel ultra wide. It also shoots in 4K 60 with a 10 megapixel selfie cam, and then an 8 megapixel depth sensor as well too. It shoots in 4K 60 for the front. So image quality wise, you're still going to get some pretty sharp and pretty nice looking photos. Very vibrant, classic sort of Samsung image processing as far as the image quality goes. This phone also has pretty respectable battery life, a 4100 milliamp battery with 15 watt charging and wireless and reverse wireless charging. You do get around 6 hours of screen on time on this phone. So overall, it's just an excellent package, honestly, for the money. All right, guys, next is the iPhone XS. I absolutely love this phone. It's one of my favorite iPhones to recommend to people. This phone comes in at around $232. And it's still a pretty nice design on here. Stainless steel glass back on here. It's also IP68 dust and water resistant. I still like the design. Still looks really classy. This phone is kind of on the smaller side actually these days. It's a 5.8-inch Super Retina OLED display. It is 1125 by 2436 with 458 for the PPI. Overall, still a very nice screen as far as the screen quality goes. You also get on here iOS 16 as well too, and I can see this phone getting many more years of updates simply because of the Apple A12 chip is still very fast on this phone. As far as performance, animations are still really nice and smooth on here. Gaming performance is also very smooth. I have a gaming test for this phone. You can play PUBG at high settings, Call of Duty, pretty much whatever you throw at this phone, it's going to do a pretty good job. You also have 64 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM for the base version, but you can get the 256 gig for probably like $50 more. So definitely take that into consideration as well. This phone has pretty good stereo speakers as well too, very good bass quality on here. Face ID still works really fast on here as well. The cameras are pretty good on this device as well too. It's a 12 megapixel standard and then a 12 megapixel telephoto lens that does 2x, and then you can shoot in 4K 60 with a 7 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 1080 60. Basically, you can see the shots for yourself. I think in good lighting, you still get a great shots out of this phone. Good dynamic range. The zoom is pretty good. And I like to recommend this phone simply because of it has the telephoto lens, because the SE only has one lens and the 10R only has one lens. So if you're at like a sporting event, you'll get a better shot with an actual like dedicated zoom. Also, this phone has pretty good battery life. Mine is able to get around close to 6 hours of screen on time, and again, my battery health's probably like 85%. It's a 2658 milliamp hour battery, and then you have wireless charging on board as well too. So I think this is still a great option, and I think it'll get updates for a pretty long time, at least probably like 3-4 more years. All right, so last on the list is going to be the iPhone XR. So this phone is very similar to the XS. But what a lot of people I noticed like about this phone is that it's just slightly bigger than the XS. So remember I said the XS has a 5.8-inch display. This one has a 6.1-inch display. So the screen size is a little bit bigger. So a lot of people like that. And it's around the same price point, again, around $200. So I think this is a pretty great option as well too. It does have its like downsides compared to the XS only having that one camera, but everything else is actually pretty solid on this phone. So this phone also has an aluminum frame, glass back. It's also IP67 dust and water resistant. And then you have the Liquid Retina IPS display. Some people like IPS displays over the OLED displays as well too. You also have 720p plus resolution, 326 for the PPI. Overall, the screen looks fine. It's fairly sharp, and I have no complaints with it. Like I said, this phone has the Apple A12 chip on here, so again, it's extremely fast in terms of performance. I was able to still play games at high settings, PUBG, basically whatever I threw at it, and overall it's still pretty smooth running iOS 16. This phone also has 64 gigs of internal storage and 3 gigs of RAM, and then you also have pretty good stereo speakers on board. Face ID is on board as well too, and the camera itself, it does take pretty good shots, but like I said, the only downside is it's only one lens. It's a 12 megapixel standard. It shoots in 4K 60 with a 7 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 1080p 60. And overall, you're going to get some pretty good image quality with this phone. Like I said, I have no issues. Dynamic range is good. Color science is good. It's still a good camera. So you do have on here a 2942 milliamp battery. This also has the wireless charging as well too. And this is a phone I can easily squeeze around 6 hours of screen on time out of this phone. So I have no issues with the iPhone XR. I still think it's a very good pickup. And like I said, you can find these easily for $200, if not a little bit cheaper, especially since we're going into 2023. So definitely keep that in mind, and I will catch you guys in the next one.